Hello, hello, testing, testing. How's the sound out there? Can you hear that? And can you also hear this? Can we hear the music as well as my voice? Testing. How's the sound out there? Can you hear that? And can you also hear this? Okay. Can we hear the music as well as my voice? All right. We're gonna get going at 7 p.m. Or at 6 p.m. promptly. So give me 2 minutes and we'll start. Awesome. Let's see. I've got the XSplit ready to go. All right. Close the door. Get the browser down. And here goes. Okay. All right, so to the people who are new to this project, I take it at this point that everybody is pretty familiar with Music to Die Alone in Space 2, but I'll go over it just in case we have some first-time streamers. Music to Die Alone in Space 2 is my Kickstarter from last year, which is the first album to be recorded again for every purchaser of the album, which is pretty intense. The idea is that this album comes to life individually for each person who buys it. I remake the album over again, changing random seeds and regenerating every track to be slightly different. So it's like 300 separate takes on the same album. And one of the ways that I fulfill this is by loading it up track by track, and for each track, I render 310 copies of that track before moving on to the next one. Then I assemble complete albums by choosing 310 different tracks out of all of them. So what I've got going on here is I have this magic folder on my computer, the Sputnik holding cells, where in many folders there lives 310 copies of each track, many of them marked as unheard, meaning that I didn't listen while they were being created, meaning that when somebody gets a copy of the album made out of this track, it's the first time anyone in the world has ever heard that one. And some of them set aside for certain people. For instance, every time one gets claimed, we can see here that this copy went to the Andromeda mix, this copy went to the Jeff Good mix, etc. So how far am I? 12 tracks times 310 renders of each tracks makes the goal for the project 3,720 total tracks. And I have currently rendered 2,760 of them. So I'm well past the 2/3 mark. Tonight, I'll be taking you through how I render Refract and how I render Tides, which are two of the tracks from the album. So we're going to look at Refract first because I currently have it open. And let's kick things off simply by listening to Refract. And please let me know how the audio is out there, if it's too loud or if it's glitching or anything. So first things first, let's take a listen to a Refract. So what we heard there was Refract, and now I'm going to take you through, like I do with each of these tracks, the ingredients, talk about what's non-deterministic and what changes from render to render. Something to note before I get into it. At first, it was going to be an album like any other. And Refract was the first of those tracks. So I didn't come into this album saying, I'm going to make this non-deterministic album that I record 300 times. I came to understand it as I was working on the first few tracks. So I wrote Refract first, Distant second, Void third, and then I came to understand, do you know what this album is going to need is to be made 300 times to really come to life. What I'm trying to say is that the fact that Refract was the first of those means it's the least non-deterministic. And in rendering Refract, I really do have to make slight manual tweaks to every render. It wasn't until I started getting into the later tracks where I believed I have to have random number generation, random elements in every single thing. So to make new Refracts, I really am just tweaking and stuff. But all the same, let me take you on a tour through the instruments. So, like all Music to Die Alone in Space 2 tracks, there is no percussion because there's no percussion in your spacesuit. You have a kick drum. I think you guys can hear that. Thump, 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 thump. You know, that's pretty par for the course. Thump, thump. And then in the later part of the track, there's a bit of a white noise that actually is kind of secretly doing the job of a hi-hat. So I had a rule for the album, no percussion, but I do use other sounds to cheat, and I'm cheating with a hi-hat there, basically, and here's that. And that's probably really quiet and hard to hear, so I'm going to temporarily turn it up real loud. And it does have a non-deterministic stutterer on it. It's got the Game of Life plugin, which will automatically cause stutters to happen at certain points. Where this kicks in is right after this big expansive section. So there's these little rolls. Those will be different on every copy I render. They always fall in different spots. Okay, now time to turn these back down to where they were. Negative 14.4. Okay, so that's all the percussive elements there are. Now, probably the coolest element of this is the bouncing bass line that begins the track and ends the track. So if you've listened through the Canon copies, you know that they all begin and end with a bass pattern. And I have about 100 linked clips here, so when I change one, I change them all. And between every render, I write a slightly new bass line. It's 2 bars long. And what I do is to make a new copy, I slightly alter the bass riff, and then it changes every other instance of the bass riff in the project. So right now it's going do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do. And let's just have it climb the scale a little there. And then hit a different note in bar 2. And all of a sudden it's like a whole new bass riff for the song. And you'll see that when I move this, it moves every other instance of it for the rest of the track. So now here's what Refract sounds like. Cool. So that's one way to bring in a lot of variety from render to render. Now, we've got these pads, and these are some big pads. There are 2 of them cloned side by side. One's doing the left ear, one's doing the right ear. I know you guys can't hear stereo through Twitch. I think you can hear it through Facebook Live. But either way, just understand that one of these is left ear only, one of these is right ear only. As I've begun expanding, when they first started in Refract number 1, Refract render number 1, they were the same patch, just out of phase. Now I have them on two completely different patches for the two different ears. So over here, and that's this guy. So right here, this is left ear pad. So let's make him a little more detuned. Nice. Maybe we can do something like change it to being a saw wave. Or raise the filter. Okay, cool. So that's how I can mess with that sound, stuff like that. And now here's what I've got going on the right ear. And that's this guy. Completely different synth module, actually. Let's mix with this a little. Let's turn it into pure square waves. Oh, that's beautiful. All right. So those two working together are this. And once again, you can't hear it in stereo, but those are ear segregated, and they keep moving back and forth. They swap every pair of measures. Cool. All right. Now, there's some sections that don't change very much, and then finally, the last big ingredient is this arpeggio. So an arpeggio, for those of you who work with synthesizers, you'll probably recognize this. An arpeggio is when you can hold in a chord on a piano and the synthesizer is under instructions to cycle through the notes you're playing. So what I have written right here is do-do-do-do, and if this wasn't arpeggiated, you'd just hear do-do-do-do, but really it's going to go do-do-do-do-do-do-do-do, and here's how that sounds. And I try a variety of different patches for this one. This is a really intense synthesizer. It supports up to 6 different voices at once. So I can do something like, let's see. Sure. Here's a good example. So this is arpeggiating. And I can do something like take the waveform, which is distorted 3, and make it square waves. Very pretty. But more importantly, something I do a lot is mess with the arpeggiator program. So right now I've got it on forward circle, and there's actually a ton of different ways to do it. You don't have to do forward circle at all. So where is the control for that? Rhythm. Oh yeah. So let's make it maybe reverse order. Now they're going to cycle in a completely different pattern. This has caused a falling pattern. Here's outward, which plays the notes in the order from the inside to the out. So that actually results in them being played in this order. Do, 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 do. If you see what I mean. I like the way the reverse sounded for right now, so I'll stick with that. So, let's pretend we're gonna export some refracts now. And because, like I said, refract doesn't have that many non-deterministic elements, I'm gonna keep this to just a couple before I show you tides, because there's a lot of manual labor involved in doing refracts. But nonetheless, let's do 3 or 4, and then switch over to tides. So, I already played with a bunch of settings there. I think we're good to head on to Refract 114. And let me know if everything sounds good. there's nothing going on but sine waves, and in every copy this is always just sine waves. Those never change. So that passage right there really will sound the same on every copy except for the... because I'm just not messing with those sine waves. They're in just the right place, and they're meant to be like the simplest sounds possible. But then these arpeggios come in again, so it does change again. Alright, awesome. So now there's this glitch sound and the song ends. Okay. Now let's see how different I can make that. So every once in a while, mess with the bass sound for sure. I've already gone through a variety of bass sounds. They've ranged from kind of gritty and almost industrial to they're barely just sine waves and everything in between. So put this passage on loop and pick out a new bass sound. Okay, let's go with something less harsh. Nah, I'm not feeling any of these presets. I'll make one from scratch. Almost perfect, but if it just had a little less filter. Okay, it's a pretty good bass patch. Let's roll with that. Nice. Okay, I'm perfect with that. But now, always changing the pattern between every run. So, let's make it one that's not so moving-y, because I've also done plenty of patterns where it's just not nearly this busy. This is one of the least ambient music patterns I've made because it's so busy. So I don't mean to misrepresent the track to you guys like that. Let's okay, I think this will be pretty hot actually. Okay, let's see what this sounds like. Okay, give the bass a little bit of a longer sustain if it's going to sound that choppy. Okay, great. So that's an example of how I might play with the bass patch between settings. Now let's play with one of the two pads. Let's see, right ear or left ear. That right ear one's a little grating. I'm really happy with left ear, so I'm going to mess with right ear. Let's see, I've got it on these settings. Let's definitely take it down the octave. Maybe make this saws. Give it a little more filter, less resonance. Take the edge off it like that. Ooh, that's kind of church organ-y. I can get down with that. Great. So let's hear an example. One more thing to do between renders. Play with the arpeggiator. See what it sounds like right now. Okay, I like the pattern, but I'll mess with the patch. Let's give the patch a bunch more reverb. Great. Some reverb and some chorus. Okay, this one's going to be pretty darn psychedelic. Let's hear Refract number 115. And I appear to have overloaded my computer right now by streaming to three services in the middle of renders. So that happens. Fortunately, nothing is damaged, nothing is lost. But that, I guess, is what I get for running all this audio software while also doing all this streaming. So since I seem to be taxing the computer, I'm happy enough to move away from Refract as it is and show off a track with a lot more non-determinism and some much cooler elements, which is tides. So take a moment to shut these things down and make a note to not use 80 million bazillion plugins on tracks in the future, which I eventually, on later tracks, which is Tides was the last track I wrote for the album. So it is much more bare bones. It's only got a couple things going on, and it shouldn't tax my computer nearly as hard, so it shouldn't have an audio dropout in the middle of rendering. But let's take a listen to Tides, followed by a tour of what goes on in a Tides. McQuantum, I do agree that that would be a good way to make the track into a banger, but Music to Die Alone in Space 2 isn't exactly a trap album. That'd be... If somebody, when they get their copy... Remember, I'm releasing these copies under Creative Commons licenses, so you have every right to take your copy, sample it, and turn it into, like, Music to Grime Alone in Space 2. That is A-okay with me. So let's take a listen to Tides. A word on Tides before I get into it. It's written entirely in the whole tone scale, which, if you're a music composition person or a music theory person, it was a favorite of French composers at the turn of the century, like Ravel and Debussy. The whole tone scale in particular is what makes Debussy's music. And if I could just bring up... Gosh, this is going to be a little unprofesh, but just give me a second here. Let's just Google the old... Google a graphic to help explain it, because I really am passionate about this. Where's an image I would like to show off? Well, we got one that we can see on the piano. Yeah, here we go. Exactly. So, in a normal scale, the major or minor scale, you use 7 notes. And using C as an example, if you play all the white keys, that's major. That's do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do. Or at least it is for people who can actually sing and have some kind of pitch. So, the whole tone scale does not mix in any half steps with the wholes. It just goes whole, whole, whole. So that's C, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, A sharp, C. And that actually creates a very alien, abnormal sound, because you are robbed of the most consonant interval in Western music, which is the interval of the fifth. So just to spell that out with an example, here is... Let's see. Oh, hang on. I have to set this up to stream to Twitch real quick, which means putting this on it and this. Okay, there. Quick sound check. Can y'all hear this? Just to quick sound check, spell that out. For example, here is... Okay. Awesome. So, here's a normal scale. Everybody heard that, I hope? Alright, nothing too absurd about that. Now when you play the whole tone scale, you do not get this interval. And that's really what music is made of. Do, so. Instead, it sounds like this. Okay, here goes. All right, so that's weird, and the cool thing about a whole tone scale is that since it's just separated by whole notes in every direction, or whole tones, it has no root note. There's no do, there's no tonic note you come back to. Theoretically, this is the same whole tone scale, whether my song is technically in the key of E or the key of B flat. It works for any of those cases. Okay, so now that I've explained all that, let's take a listen through Tides. Dang, I could listen to that all day. Which is a good thing, because in the process of making 310 copies of this album, that's what I do. Okay, let's take... There, sorry, I realized I wasn't talking into the mic for a second. What I said was, I could have listened to that all day, and it's a good thing, because I have to in order to deliver 310 copies of this album. Okay, so the first instrument I want to take you through is the main melody, which is something that I put a lot of work into, and it's actually a lot like something I would have written back in university as a formal music composition. And here I'll just show off the notes for it. So even though this can't really be said to be said in any particular key, it is more or less in the key of E, in that there are more E's than anything else. E being right here. And I kind of took the following approach. I wanted to start with the notes that didn't give away that it was whole tone. I wanted to start by playing the notes that you could still be in a major key and have, which is C, D, and E. It's E, and then it's second and it's third. So E, F sharp, and G sharp. It kind of sounds like you're just playing do, re, mi, and you're not getting in any of those alien ones that are dissonant. So it starts, and let me make this instrument very explicit so that we don't miss anything. Can I make you louder and buzzier so that it's really clear? Yeah. That sounds like a major chord. Nothing's weird yet. And then I gradually begin introducing the unhealthy notes. And it's starting to get pretty alien. And that develops over the course of the song. Here's where it really starts reaching. This is the one that signifies you're in whole tone land, because this is not supposed to be in the scale. Right? Here's the neat thing, though. This is one of the tracks that actually has randomly added chords, because I can't really do the chords wrong. You can't play a wrong note in the whole tone scale, kind of because they're all wrong notes already. So I have it playing one of 6 notes here, and every 4 bars, it's just picking another note from the whole tone scale. Come on. Kick in. There. And so these actually fit right in so that they align like so. They align here, and then here, and then here. So every time it's beginning a new measure, it's mixing in some new chords that actually aren't in anyone else's copy. And so that's where a lot of unpredictability comes from. There's actually different notes in each render of this. Okay, so there's that, and then there's what I think of as the real show stealer, which is these beeps. The beeps happen at the end of every measure, and they sing doodle-boop, doodle-boop, doodle-boop. But I'm using a random note selector. So it beeps one of any of the 6 notes in the scale, then another one an octave up. It beeps any one of the 6 notes, and then it always finishes boop, up top. And so that sounds like this. And if you listen closely, you'll hear that it's choosing a different run-up each time by selecting different pairs of these. It always finishes on. So once again, all the notes are in the whole tone scale. It can all work out. But these are always in a different order every time, no matter what. These could never be the same on 2 copies because it's making that run-up of the boop, boop, boop completely different every time. And that really makes it easy to crank out a large number of tides because that is doing a lot of the heavy lifting. Now, what's also cool is that that's this guy right here. That's this beeper, this little beeper. What's also pretty cool is that it's getting fed into a delay that echoes. So you notice every once in a while you're hearing boop-a-doop, doop-a-doop, boop-a-doop, doop-a-doop. It's repeating itself. The volume of that delay is being controlled by a random pulsar here. And so as bright as this knob is as loud as the echo is. So if you listen, you're going to hear some of those doo-doo-doots have no echo at all on them, all right? And then if you watch, sometimes that knob will light up orange, which signifies that the echo is going all the way on, and you'll see some volume here that'll indicate that it's working. So watch for that. See, you get that echo when that's on. That also happens randomly in every copy. So the ingredients to that are random, the echo is random, and then we have this automatic slice arranger, which is kicking in and out randomly. Awesome, right? Automatic slice arranger, you can pick a pattern for it to arrange its slices in. I could try something like up pattern 6, up pattern 5, and when that kicks in, you're going to hear like that. Waiting. I've got the level set just right of randomness where it happens just often enough to be attention grabbing, but not like every time. So, let's set it to down, down. Alright, the last instrument that is of some note, I think, is at the end of the long alienating chord progression, things settle down and it temporarily becomes consonant again. It temporarily moves into that safe space of the whole tone scale that could ambiguously be the major key before going back to the whole tone scale. And what we've got there is this spreading synth that gradually comes in, and it sounds like this. You know, right now I kind of have it on this faux sitar, so let me just change to something else to really show off what it could be. Where's just like a massive stack? Give me a massive stack. Yeah, alright. Could even use more massive, please. Okay, this'll work. Alright. So, that is not a non-deterministic instrument anyway. It's just a pretty vital ingredient to the track because it colors the second half, and then the end is the same piano line or the same musical melody from the first, but it sounds different because it's got that behind it the whole way through. So, all that said, let me slightly change up the patch for our main line, and we'll generate a tides. This thing is kind of cool, but let's, you know, change the gender on these. Let's get it right in the middle, which, same joke I made last time. It's right where we like our genders anyway. Just right in the middle. Let's make it more saws, though. Okay, that's really cool. right, without further ado, let's listen to nope, not Refract. Tides 134. Here's that section where the more consonant line begins to come in. Gosh, I'll never get tired of moving those formant filters in the middle of tracks. I mean, they're like mouth filters, so moving them around creates different vowel sounds, and I try not to mess with things too much in the middle of tracks, but anywhere in Music to Die Alone in Space 2 that I have used formant filters, I've always, every dozen tracks or so, intervened to make someone's bass line talk in the middle of the track, make it try and say words. It's kind of a skill trying to actually get this to say words, but it's kind of fun. You know, since it doesn't really do consonants very well, it only does vowel sounds. You can get it to do the O-E-O from Wizard of Oz pretty well. I don't know of any other good words. I think it can say we pretty well, like yes in French. Alright, enough of that silliness. Let's change up our pads a little and try another copy. So, this big sound, this wasn't as expansive as I'd really hoped. Man, you just could have been better. Where's my super stack, right? go. That's getting there. That's it. Okay. Perfect. Love working with synthesizers. All right. Let's change up our patterns. Let's go Pong with up instead of down with down. Or scramble that a little. Put that in the vinyl filter. Why not? Because I totally can. And let's change up the bass patch. So the bass never, I mean, the bass in this just pulses. And I like to mess with the bass patch because changing up the bass can completely change the outcome of the song. So let's listen to that bass for a second. Bow, 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 bow. That's nice. I've got an LFO on them, which stands for low frequency oscillator, which basically means that at a rate of 1/2 per beat, every half note it's moving in and out. Let's change that. Let's make it move every whole note. Okay, that's pretty bad. Alright, we're going to leave those beeps beeping the way they were beeping, and we're going to output tides, 135. gorgeous. This is absolutely one of my favorite tracks on the album, and it was one of the bonus tracks. I think it was the final track I made. It was either that or Absolute Zero was the last track I wrote, but the more I hear it, the more that strange whole tone melody no longer sounds strange to me. It sounds right, and I do really like the name Tides for it, because the pulsing of the bass line and just a lot of the other things going on, I really do imagine just the washing up of waves upon the shore every time I hear this. And that's what it says to me. It just sounds like that. I don't know what else to say, you know? Okay, let's get this through a little bit of a unison, because that'll sound good. I'm just going to add a whole new effect to the effects chain. That's going to change how that sounds. And then let's make this a little more piano-like. Well, not actually trying to sound like a piano. That's different. How's that all sound in context? Gosh, I'm loving this bass line. What bass line couldn't be run through an amp, though? That's an excellent question, Bill. There is no bass line you can't run through an amp. Alright. I think we have our next version of Tides. particularly well really does match up with the tide's imagery. Every time that bass line comes in and swells, I imagine the tide washing up onto the shore and then ebbing back away. All right, one more, and then I'll call it a wrap for tonight's stream. I realize in the past I did these for 2 hours, but it seemed a bit longish, and I know that not everybody has the appetite to listen to, a dozen consecutive renders of these. If they did, they'd be me, and I'd be asking them to help. So let's do one more good one. Let's make it quite different, and then call the stream. So, let's see. Still don't have this quite where I want it. It could be even more piercing. I really want this to, like, swallow me up. Maybe if I was to put it through a maximizer. That's getting there. Let's change up this pattern. Render of the night. Well, at least the last render of the night I'll be streaming. Let's hear one more Tides, everybody. Allow me to introduce you all to Tides 137. I'm sorry. It looks like we may have to truncate this one early due to technical difficulties. I'm not quite sure why it can no longer handle these particular streams, but I think it might be because I've begun streaming to Facebook Live as well as Twitch at the same time. Might just all be maxing out my CPU. Either way, we're close to it. Maybe I'll upload Tides 137 to YouTube or something in the meantime as a taste for what we all missed. But I hope everyone has enjoyed this look inside what goes into a Tides track as well as what goes into a Refract track. Since the cast started, we've seen that big running total get up to 2,764. So onwards we go, on our way to 3,720. I guess there is less than 1,000 remaining now, so bit by bit, I keep eating the elephant, one bite at a time. Soon I will be at 3,720, and I can begin piecing together people's albums and sending them to them for this unprecedented musical stunt. All right, everybody. Thank you for watching. I'll update the Kickstarter again the next time I have reached a checkpoint and finished these tracks. In the meantime, check me out on Friday when from 6 till midnight East Coast time, I will be doing another 6-hour marathon EDM stream, bumping the night live. Last week's was a blast. It was a party. We had a huge Twitch chat and Facebook live stream going on for 6 straight hours of DJing, and I gotta tell you, all that's getting me through this week is looking forward to doing that again this Friday. So see you guys all on twitch.tv and Facebook Live Friday for 6 hours of EDM. All right, love you all. Spruik out.